Let's discuss full-size Lockblade knives and the purpose I use these for. This is basically my entire life collection of this type of knife, as far as ones I've actually carried and used, and maybe a couple of them that I haven't, because I just recently got them. And we're talking about a approximately 4-inch blade length, full-size Lockblade knife. And a lot of people are going to disagree with my use of these knives and say that I'm abusing them in the way that I use them, and that's fine. It's a matter of opinion, but I'm just telling you, they might not be designed for this type of use, but that's the use I have for them. And where I live, I have a I could carry a machete every time I step outside, but the problem is it's kind of unwieldy to always be carrying a machete. But if I venture off the beaten path at all, I'm probably, especially in the warmer season, I'm going to have to cut some stuff out of my way, because we have briars around here that will stick to you, and as soon as one of them sticks to you, the rest, it starts pulling the rest of them towards you, and you can pretty quickly get to where you can't move forward or backward. So you need something to be able to cut through this stuff, and it's tough. The stems of these things are tough. So even with a machete, you know, you're going to get cuts and scratches and everything from the briars. So I like to have something like this on my side in a little pouch like that on my belt, and that's just a big enough knife to be able to use for things like that. And also I can use it to cut saplings and so on. Now I don't use these to baton with, because they're, you know, the hinge and lock mechanism takes a real beating with batoning. But what I do sometimes is I'll do a chopping type thing to get through a sapling or a stick. You know, cut up a little bit of small diameter firewood, or chop down a sapling to use as a walking stick or whatever. And so, like I said, a lot of people consider that type of use to be abuse, and that's okay, but that's the purpose I have for these knives. And that's basically the smallest knife that will do a decent job of that, and smallest and most unobtrusive. And now a full-size fixed blade knife, say 7-inch blade or something like that, works much better, but it also attracts much more attention if you go out in public with something like that strapped on your side. So without further ado, we'll work chronologically through it. This is the first one I had, and it's missing the handle scales. It has wooden scales, and I still have the scales that fit it, but they've fallen off 2 or 3 times. I've re-glued them, and you can see also the center pin is kind of dimpled where I've tried to tighten it up on multiple occasions. See, I found this knife. It's a Gerber Magnum Folding Hunter, and I found it on the bank of a creek in Smoky Mountains in the late 70s, and I carried it for a few years, and I think it had the handle scales on it at the time, and well, I know it did because, you know, I have them, but they fell off. In fact, they were starting to pull loose, I think, when I found this knife. But I glued them back on with something or other, and they stayed on for a while, and eventually they fell off again. And it loosened up, and I would retighten it, and went through several cycles of that. And the handle scales are, that's a weakness of this design, because it doesn't have pins through the handle scales. So it's just reliant on whatever glue you use to hold them on. But the blade steel has always been really good and has stood up well. You can see there's no chips, no deformity or anything to the blade. So it's a great blade. But I eventually quit carrying that one. And I say chronologically, but yeah, let's do it chronologically. I'll go ahead and get into the real controversy now, because sometime in the 80s I bought this. I'd always heard that Buck 110s are wonderful. Buck 110s are the best Lockblade knife you can get, and so on. And so sometime in the 80s I actually traded for this one. And you can see, I mean, I got it used, but it was close to new when I got it in the 80s, because you can see it's got the two leading and trailing dots on each side of the, where it says 110, Buck 110. But when I started using it for my rough use, the tip broke off very easily, and the edge also has some waviness that you can see, and I've worked on trying to reduce that. But I've had a couple other buck knives that did similarly, fixed blade knives, and so I'm just not a fan of the buck steel. I know a lot of people really like it, but anyway, the buck. And I mean, I know I could send it back to Buck and have a new blade put on it, but then it would still just be a Buck blade, and I'd have to pay to ship it to them, and I just don't want to do that. It would cost me $10 probably to ship it to them. I'd rather just have it on the sidelines and not depend on it anymore. Now this is one of my favorite Lockblade knives. It's an Old Timer. No, it's an Old Timer 51 OT, and that's a great knife. And I carried it for 2 or 3 years, I guess, and had people try to buy it from me and everything. And that's one of the US made ones, and it's been perfect. And I've actually had good service out of the Schrade stainless steel. I prefer carbon steel, but some stainless steels are okay. But I basically quit carrying this one because they're hard to find, and when you find one, it looks like it seems like I looked them up recently when I bought this next one. I looked these up again, and they're selling for quite a bit of money anyway. So that's why I quit using it, because I didn't want to lose it, or whatever, wear it out or whatever, because I like it too much, and I decided that that didn't need to be a hard use knife. I think it would stand up to it just fine, but I just don't want to do it. So I actually quit carrying a Lockblade for a few years, and just kind of got by without one. But I mean, I would carry a fixed blade if I was going into the woods, and I still do a lot of the time. But I missed out on having a heavy use knife when I was just out in the world or whatever, and unless I went back to my vehicle and got a fixed blade. So fairly recently I decided I wanted to get a rough use lock blade again, and I started reading about the what's it called now? It's an Uncle Henry 7OT, that's what it is. No, that's an old timer. LB7. Now Schrade is Uncle Henry and Old Timer are both Schrade knives, and the Uncle Henry version is the LB7, which they've made for a long time, and the Old Timer version is the 7OT. They're basically the same knife, and in fact you can still get brand new either an Uncle Henry LB7 or an Old Timer 7OT. And the thing is, they're made in China now, and a lot of people put them down for that reason, and that's fine, but most other knives are too, you know. And anyway, so I was reading about the LB7s, and I started thinking, you know, maybe I would like to have one of those and try it out for as my heavy use everyday carry knife. And I went to Smoky Mountain Knife Works back in November, I think it was, and I looked at the LB7 and also the 7OT, Old Timer version of the same knife. And like I said, since they're both Schrade, they're the same knife, but Uncle Henry is the premium of the two, and Old Timer is kind of a couple of notches down. So it's the same knife, but the fit and finish is, they take a little more care with the Uncle Henrys. And there's a $5 difference in price. And after comparing the two, I decided that although the Old Timer would work just fine, it was worth the $5 difference in price to get the LB7 Uncle Henry, because that's still only $30 versus $25 for the Old Timer. And I've been using it hard. I've used it for the purposes I mentioned. I carry it every day, and I use it a lot. And as you can see, it's weathering that type of use very well so far. And I liked it so much, though, that I wanted to get one of the old US made ones just to have it and to, you know, compare it and everything. And so I found this one and bought it. And you can tell it has significant wear but no damage. So it's been used hard, but it has weathered that well. And it says Schrade Plus USA LB7. So that's a US made version, older one, you know, of the same knife. And then I was looking around and I also found a 7OT. And the interesting thing about this one, now you can see the blade is kind of scuffed up on this one. But interesting thing about this one is it's carbon steel. It says Schrade USA 7OT. And especially on this side, you can see the blade is a little scuffed up from overzealous sharpening, I guess. But boy, I tell you what, that is some hard steel. That takes some serious effort, though the edge was kind of worn when I got it, and it took some serious effort to get it back in shape. That's some tough steel there. And the thing I like about this is like I said, it is the carbon steel, and that's kind of rare. How rare it is depends on who you ask. But I'll tell you what, it's kind of unusual to find one of the carbon steel ones because most of them are stainless. So I knew I had to jump on that one when I found it. And I wouldn't be afraid to use this one hard. Or this one for that matter, the older LB7. And you can tell it's been beat up. You can see on the bolsters there it's got some dents. But you know, it's been standing up to it well, and it'll continue to do so. But the thing is, the Chinese made one is standing up extremely well so far. It holds a very good edge, even with rough use. All I have to do is touch it up a little every once in a while. It has never gotten dull on me. And I do use it hard. So far I can really recommend it. And the way I look at it, hey, for 30 bucks, it doesn't matter if I snap the blade. I'll just buy another one. So that's my go-to everyday carry Lockblade knife now, for that reason, because it seems to be pretty much as good as these earlier ones from a using standpoint, with the advantage of I can replace it cheaply and easily if I need to, even if I lose it. So there you go. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, since I said if I lose it, Uncle Henry would replace a knife for life. If you like when this one was made, for example, they still had that warranty that if you ever lost it, they'd send you a new one free. And they don't do that anymore, obviously, but they did it for a long time. I always found that interesting, and I don't know why I didn't buy one back in the day. Oh, as people say now. You know, I really should have. I think this is about the same year of manufacture as the Buck 110. And it's actually a little bit, the blade is slightly heavier. But, you know, I think I would have done better to have bought one of these back in the 80s instead of this one. But, doesn't matter. I've got one now. So there it is. Thanks for watching. And let me know any comments you have. And I can see the hate mail coming now from the Buck fans. That's okay though.